When they were made, they're actually the world's largest car, so they measure about 20 feet long. They weigh about 3.5 tonnes. They've got a wooden frame body, so they do burn pretty well if they catch a light. One of the first cars in the world to have electric windows, 5.5 litre straight 8 engine, has about 150 horsepower and capable of about 85 miles an hour. The Daimler DE36, it's just a special, unique car that was handmade for the actual Royal Tour in 1953-54.
A city and a continent are waiting for a queen is coming. A queen we have never seen.
There was 12 of those cars originally ordered, 6 for New Zealand and 6 for Australia. This here's a photo taken in Wellington before the Royal Tour. This was the whole entourage of about 30 odd cars that were used on the Royal Tour. That's actually the photo of our convertible there with a number plate of 400,002.
6 great states joining in thunderous greeting for the Queen, who is here at last.
So after the tour, our car went through a number of hands. People brought the car so they could say they'd actually owned a Royal Tour car. It eventually got brought by an undertaker in Gisborne. That served about 20 years in Gisborne doing funerals. When that car was sold, my dad brought it and he had a plan of converting it back to the convertible that it was on the actual Royal Tour. We brought the car in 1974. He had it stored in a museum, just awaiting the time that he could start returning it back to the convertible it was for the Royal Tour. Unfortunately, the museum caught fire in the 1st of January 1979 and most of the car got burnt. And then the remains of the car, they were retrieved from the museum to preserve all the parts and see what was going to take place. This here's my father Colin driving the newly restored chassis. Then a friend of ours that was living in Sydney at the time, he actually tracked down the remains of the Australian convertible. Dad imported from Sydney to help in the restoration of ours. So it's basically a coming together of the two convertibles. As a young lad, when I first drove the car, I didn't even have a driver's licence. So I still remember my father letting me drive it down the road, and I was probably about 13 or 14 years of age at the time. So people would actually think you were the Queen coming and pull off the road and let you past. When unfortunately my father passed away in 1986, and he had actually completed most of the work in a period of over about 5 years. Now I've got the job of finishing off his good work, basically. When I heard the Queen was coming to do a royal visit in Perth in 2011, I wrote to her at the Palace and asked her if she'd be interested in viewing the Daimler that she rode in the Royal Tour of New Zealand. I was pretty gutted that she didn't want to actually come and look at the car. I might send a copy of the interview to Queen Elizabeth and just pass on my good wishes and see if she would pass it on to Will and Kate. They'd be more than welcome to use the car if it's actually finished, but might have to be on some later tours, I think. Probably another 5 or 8 years' time, perhaps.
Thank you.